All right, so we did one or two things. We either did really good here, and we both have mics. We listened to every single review. And what did they say?
Can't hear you.
Can't hear the old
Speak
guy.
up.
What are you guys doing? All right,
Why is
so
he
we did
so
something
cagey?
different. Okay, so long story short, we've had these things, yours 3 seasons,
Yeah.
mine 2. And the last video we had like some crazy amount of reviews or views. I don't know what it was. And we thought, you know what? Or I thought, maybe we show you all what it's really about. I have some gripes about the Milwaukee. Also some things I never thought I would like about it, which I found the other night. You never know how interesting lights on a lawnmower are until you're mowing at night and people keep stopping you and be like, oh my God, the thing's got lights on it. I mowed, I had like that much of my lawn to do, and it got dark after I put my kids to bed, so we did what we did. So.
Well, that's funny you should say that. Ken rode by on his bike. 85-year-old dude rides through here every day on his bicycle. And I was telling him about my battery issue, which you may have seen before. And so he had to stop and ask me how my battery issue has been resolved.
Oh, jeez. Well, I don't know if it has
So
been.
we're kind of known in the neighborhood, I guess.
Yeah, as the electric lawnmower mafia or whatever. That's what we should name a channel, Electric Lawnmower Mafia.
Yeah.
All 4 videos we put out a year. So I think let's talk about this real quick. Let's go through some features. We've talked about ergonomics with this stuff. Why don't you step a little closer to the mower's tear bear?
Pretend I'm holding it.
You got the Ego.
Yep.
I got the Milwaukee. This is a relatively first gen Milwaukee. I don't know if they've changed a whole lot. Roughly $1,000. Comes with the 2 12 amp hour batteries. And I've got some comments on battery longevity as well. You've had some issues with your battery over time. Tell me what you've learned.
Well, so while we were prepping for this little video, I put the battery on the charger because it only illuminated 3 of the 5 bars on the little, when you press the button here. And I had just previously charged the battery a week ago.
Oh, they go in there?
I can even get it to light up. Yeah, it won't even. There
There
we
it
go.
is.
So now it's all 5 lit up.
Okay.
But for the last, I don't know what, half a season or so, I put it on the charger. You walk away, you're not watching the charger through the whole cycle. I think maybe either the battery is stopping at 20% or the charger is stopping at 20%. Because while we were chatting, I looked and the third light was blinking. It never completed that charge cycle, so I unplugged the whole thing, plugged it back in. It went back to trying to charge that third light. So according to the meter, it was not more than about whatever, 25 to 30% charged. But
Okay.
yet you can see here, however I do that, it lights up 5 bars. So it seems to be fully charged.
That's weird.
And almost every time I use it, I get about 10 minutes into the mow and it goes down to 2 bars. And I get about 10 to 15 minutes of mow out of it before I have to charge it up.
And that's consistent?
That's the problem. It's not consistent. It's kind of intermittent. Every once in a while, I'll get a full 5-bar charge and I'll do the whole lawn in one mowing.
Okay.
Probably, I'm going to say 20 to 30% of the time I get that. And the other balance, the 30 to whatever, 40 to 60%, it's the other way where I just,
Interesting.
So I mow the backyard, throw it on the charger while I putter around with the blower. It only takes a few minutes to put enough charge to finish. But it's been inconsistent.
It's almost like a cell's dead in there or something's funky.
Yeah, there's a ton of people on the interwebs that have talked about these similar kind of problems, and some of the batteries were replaced under warranty. This one's out of warranty now, so I'm not even going to bother trying. Trouble is the battery is about $300, so it kind of sucked to buy another one.
Well, yeah, and you were $600 into this thing to start.
Yeah, I think it was like
$700,
$599, $600.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you because I'm just noticing you're more like mine's got grass clippings on it. Yours looks like it went through like an asphalt factory. What did you do to this thing?
It looks like it sat through Katrina, but no, that's one mowing last week, and I honestly don't know what I was doing to make it so filthy. But I treat this thing like it was a $20 Murray mower from Walmart. I don't wash it, I don't bathe it. Every once in a while I hit it with a blower to blow the crap off of it. I just treat it like a piece of junk, a gas lawnmower. I probably shouldn't treat a $600 lawnmower that way, but to me it's just a tool.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And have you ever used the lights on the front of it?
I didn't even know it had lights.
It does have lights.
I know it does. I'm teasing, but I was like, no, I'm usually in bed before I would need lights to mow the lawn anyway. Yeah. So they're completely superfluous.
You don't fold it up at all. You don't do the compact thing because you keep it in your shed, right?
I have folded it up occasionally. When the first year I had it, I was taking advantage of all of its nifty functions, because for those who haven't actually witnessed it, it's
And this is a 2020 model?
Yeah, and I was just looking at the model number. It is LM2150SP, which I'm sure stands for Super Performance.
Yeah, naturally.
But this is really a slick little feature. If you're space constrained,
Yeah.
and you want to store this in your, your apartment building's garage off the deck type of a thing. I'm lucky to have lots of place to pile stuff, so I don't have to do that. But every once in a while, when I'm trying to make space, that's what I do.
So I've got two. We'll switch to blades. You flip this up, so let's talk about it. This, you've never cleaned this thing. You've never put a hose on this. You've never nothing.
One time, and if you remember, I had some of this magic juice that you spray on the bottom. So I cleaned it once and sprayed that juice on, gave you a can for yours.
Yeah, and I put that on I put on that Makita.
Was it Makita?
Okay. I put it on the Makita. It was like which that stuff actually worked pretty well.
Yep. This is
and
all
you've
plastic,
never sharpened
though.
the blade.
Never sharpened the blade.
And it looks like it. They look atrocious. How, I mean, cut performance-wise, obviously, there's no major issues there, but you're not looking for the world's fanciest cut.
Well, my yard is probably 30% of the density of yours.
Yeah.
I don't know how it would do in your yard, but it does fine in the dead twigs that I mow.
Okay. Well, what I'm impressed with, and we'll talk about this with my mower, but in a minute, we've on mine's got some buildup around it and some things I kind of found interesting. Now, this is what, a plastic xenon deck, or what type of deck is this?
I don't know.
Some type of plastic.
Let's just call it engineered plastic.
Yeah, sure. I don't know enough about it to be smart.
Yeah.
Anything else you felt about it over the ownership?
No, I mean, other than the irritant of the battery, when I never know for sure if I can mow the lawn in one sitting or if I have to do a charge in between. Yeah. When the battery is fully functional, it does my yard with, which is, I'm a 12,000 square foot lot.
Yacht, you wish.
Yacht, yeah, and I probably have, maybe 6,000 or 8,000 square feet of grass.
Well, I've got 6,000 total in my yard.
In your grass?
Yeah,
okay,
grass.
I'm less than that then. I'm maybe closer to 5,000. So it easily handles that on a single charge if I can get it charged. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Have you mowed the lawn wet? Have you mowed it dry? Do you notice a difference in performance that way, or do you typically don't mow wet? You wait
it's
till the
pretty
right day?
rare. I mean, I might catch slightly damp, but never wet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So overall, happy, but
I like it. I love the lightweight. I mean,
it's super lightweight.
I get my little 5'2" girlfriend. She wanted to mow the lawn the other day, and so I showed her how to work it, and she just jumped off and ran off without her. And it's super light. Pros and cons. I tend to like beefier stuff. I drive 1-ton trucks, not Toyotas. So I'm not usually the guy going for lightweight. And to be honest, what sold me as much as the mower is the ecosystem. And even though I haven't had the best of luck with that battery, I've got two other batteries. That's a 10 amp hour. I've got a 5 amp hour and a 2.5 amp hour.
Can you put the 5 in this or the 2.5 in this?
Yes, you can do. They're all completely interchangeable.
Okay.
So if you wanted to carry your leaf blower with a 10 amp hour battery, you could do it, but it gets a little heavy.
Yeah.
And I've got a hedge trimmer. And I've borrowed the neighbor's steel gas-powered hedge trimmer, and I will put my little Ego up against it any day.
Yeah.
That's probably the most impressive power tool in my fleet. But I do like that they're all battery interchangeable.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair. Any gripes about the controls or stuff along those lines?
No, not really. I mentioned it before, and that is how easy this is to turn, which is the speed control.
Okay.
And all you have to do is like run up against a brush, or sometimes a branch will come out and shut it down. And it's super easy to control.
Yeah.
And I pretty much always would what I need to do is make a little mark here to say, here, old man, here's your walking speed, put it there. And I chase it quite a bit. So
okay.
That would be my only operational type complaint that I have. Yeah.
All right. That's good.
Yep.
It looks like it's worked well for you.
Yeah. I mean, I can recommend it, and I say with that caveat about the battery. And most people are probably a little more on top of warranty stuff, and they would have just said, hey, you go give me a new battery. I'm the pacifist pushover. I don't argue with manufacturers.
And you never bag your lawn.
I've only bagged it a handful of times.
Yeah, but essentially you don't.
Just mulch it, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yep. I guess we talk about the Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So this is it. I mowed that 2 days ago. Forget my mold traps. I'm working on them right now. And I honestly run this mower a relatively wet lawn a lot because, you know, we're in the Seattle area and it's always moist in the mornings. I try and wait till the afternoon, but we got a lot of density in the grass here, in this grass. And I've noticed that, again, I have a 6,000 foot grass lawn, or 6,000 foot of grass on my property. And I've got two 12 amp hour batteries, and they typically, if it's, you know, a 1 inch cut or 1.5 inch cut, and I bag, it'll do the lawn with one power bar left out of 4, typically, when I started.
Is that with one battery? Or
one set of batteries. Well, you have to have, yeah, you always have to have a set. This runs 36 volts
Gotcha.
with in series 18s. So feel free to kick it open. Yeah. So what I've realized is that during the shoulder seasons with this system, I very much needs a strong term. I end up mowing the front and then the back and then the back and the side. And the back and the side are smaller than the front together. And I do it back and forth because the reality is that 12 amp hour battery, when it's wet or where you're doing too much because you haven't mowed enough, it's a little much for that run. And so what I ended up doing is getting a second 8 amp hour battery, because I have the blower and the weed trimmer that came with an 8 amp hour. So I have two 8 amp hours that I can back up into this thing afterwards. And I found a dumb deal on one of those batteries for like $115, and I said, well, why not? Yeah, but that's my maneuver for that. And honestly, it just takes a little bit of the stress out of dealing with that one set of battery pack. I think I like that a lot because when I had that Makita, right, we had those batteries. They came with 4, and you could switch between the 2 packs. So you have you know 2 banks, and I actually like that a lot. And then when I forgot to charge the banks right, obviously I go steal your Makita batteries, and so that was actually the big reason, because as y'all can tell, I'm a Milwaukee guy, and I had that because they didn't have the Milwaukee out yet. Why don't you take the camera?
Yep.
And just hold that cable. See, we're getting all fancy with cables for you guys. I have video of me on that little camera last night going back and forth and people talking about, you know, the lights on this. It doesn't seem like anything crazy, but when it gets a little late, it makes sense to use this. I was reading the comments from the last time we were here and we did this, and I said, what would anyone use these lights for? And apparently I am not from Texas or from Florida or from anywhere where it gets hot during the day. Apparently that's a thing down in the South.
Well,
people mow at night once it cools down a bit, you know?
The camera sells the light output pretty short because I'm blinded here looking at it, and it's not showing up on the camera that they're that bright.
No, it's funny. When you see it on that thing, it looks like a UFO going over my yard. You can't even see me. It's hysterical. I do like this feature. I can feel my microphone kicking around, but I do like the fact that this kicks up like that. I do use that pretty often. And when I do that,
Like the bag.
yeah, the bag's here. We'll talk about the bag, actually. I've been relatively impressed with that. This kicks up.
Makita didn't do that, did it? Did it stow like that?
No.
Okay.
The Makita did not stow like this at all. Yeah, not in the least. And so that's something that I like about this. I kind of wish it compacted a bit. I have a spot where this fits like this in my garage. I usually keep it like this in the winter. But for the most part, you know, it sits flat during the summer months. I'd say, Terry, why don't we show this? Since we got this up, I've got 2 blades. This is the high lift blade. Honestly, it's 50-50 whether you should get it. This one's not. I try and sharpen them about once a year. But the one thing I would say is that this is the one thing I don't like about this mower. This stuff builds up. I had this relatively cleaned probably 3 mows ago, and it just keeps kicking up here. And give me a sec, I'm gonna go get something. I'll talk about it a bit, but the actual deck is starting to rust a bit. Now, I don't clean this thing every single time I use it. And I'm not gonna say I mow with wet grass, but it's definitely more moist. But I mean, this is for me.
Now, you never sprayed the miracle juice on this one.
I didn't, no. But I honestly don't think you should have to.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I have pressure washed this. All right, so if you see, yeah, there's rust here, and it's actually all the way from here down to here, surface rusty. So I don't, you know, all of me wants to reach out to Milwaukee and, you know, get some sort of replacement for this. This is kind of...
Well, I've had 2 Honda steel deck mowers.
Yeah.
They would always plug up like that, but
Did they?
Yeah, but they never rusted.
So before this, I had those Xeon deck Hondas, right? So I have this brush and I use it. I don't know, this to me is where, sorry for making all that noise. Milwaukee misses the mark on this unit because they make a really great mower. They got an awesome battery on it. This thing's great. You know, the tires are great. They grip well. It makes nice stripes for what it is. But just little areas in the design, like right here, you have to clean this out all the time. This is, and keep in mind, does not have many mows on it since I had it like essentially spotless. I haven't put the mystery oil stuff on it that you put on it. We don't remember what the name of that stuff was. Project Farm.
Here's what you have to say in a YouTube video. We'll put a link down below.
Yeah, I guess
something we discovered
yeah.
that somebody else used on YouTube. It actually works pretty well.
So this stuff, the problem with this is it builds up here and also will build up in this stripe right here. So what's in that stripe? Well, that's where your blade sits. So all of a sudden, it'll be spinning. I can actually hear it go click, 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 click. And it's actually this blade hitting grass buildup right in this zone. You can see it's all the way in here, the surface rust, which, so I'm gonna cut my finger real well doing that. I was actually at an event. We had our neighborhood hardware store just did a reopening. They're a really nice hardware store. And they had Milwaukee there, they had DeWalt, they had reps from, you know, big tents and everything from it. And I said, hey, have you guys ever heard of, you know, there's some issues with these mowers. Yeah, we've heard of a lot of them. I said, have you heard of rusting? She goes, that's one I haven't heard of. I said, yeah, it's rusting, which is the interesting part to me. Which is, besides that, I mean, I really, really like this thing. Would I say not to get it? No, but remember we thought about ceramic coating one of these like the first time, like before it got clean. I had some ceramic coat, and of course I got kind of lazy, so I didn't do it, but hindsight's making me wish I kind of did.
If you have to have a
ceramic
lawnmower, there's something fundamentally wrong.
Yeah. So again, maybe I'm just not used to having steel decks. Again, I'm used to having the, I'm gonna stop doing this. I'm gonna keep doing this thing till it's spotless. I'm just used to having those Xenon decks, but I do keep it relatively clean. This isn't like a year of buildup. This is maybe three half mowings of buildup. And so that's kind of the thing that's frustrating. If you live in a real dry climate, this ain't gonna be an issue. It's just gonna, you know, just dwindle off. I would say that, see if I already cut myself having fun. I say that's the most frustrating thing to me. Some things I find interesting about it, again, these are, you can just tell this is the first, it's like the first model Tesla that came out, you know, like it was a great product, but there's just some things you could tell they weren't a car company. You know, Milwaukee is not a lawnmower company. That said, they've done a really phenomenal job. Like you were talking about speeds and like how, sorry, my microphone's all tweaked out here. Speeds and how yours changes speed. This is not an issue for mine at all. Like as I'm going, that speed is highly predictable. And you know, I know 2.5 here is like my slow cut. And then I also know that this is variable. So, I mean, it's very variable. Great, now I gotta clean all that up. And it works really well. I would say that if you're doing a fast turn and you're going backwards, you know, so you got some back and then you do one of these things, it'll hit a spot where it realizes too much torque and stop and it won't go anymore, which is a little weird. I'm not accustomed to that. I think I mentioned that in the last video. But hit the trigger again and it works just fine. The high power mode will obviously suck down more battery. So that's something to think about. What else do we got? The lights I've exactly used once and it helped me get the job done. So I thought that was a bit of a gimmick, but apparently not so much of a gimmick that it didn't work the one time I needed it. So, and I guess if you have a bunch of battery, you might as well use that. But I think the thing I would say is, along with your ecosystem likes, I still have a steel BR 600 backpack blower for like my big blowing needs. I have the little single M18 blower with the 8 amp hour battery for kind of my, I call it my broom. It doesn't do a whole lot, right? It's actually good when you have the big backpack blower to have something without that much juice to get things in the line to to do it up. So I like that battery, and I also like the weed whacker with the
blade. The edger blade?
The edger blade, yeah. That edger blade, I mean, you can go on the lawn if you want to, but it works well. For a super lightweight and, a couple $100 if that, to have that package, I think it's great. And they're coming out with rotary scissors to replace the string line next year, which is going to be kind of an expensive add-on.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I'm going to unfortunately get it because I just like the way it works so much better. So the ecosystem for me is a big thing too. And then I bought a second 8 amp hour battery. So if it's a shoulder season and it's really wet, or I'm doing a bunch of high power cut, or I'm decided to cut 2.5 inches, and I'm just slogging through stuff, that helps out a lot. What else we add? I think I've said this before. Watch out for this. And I went around that tree once tight, and it just took my mower down 1 notch.
Oh, heaven forbid.
Yeah, and I didn't even know. The problem was I didn't notice it till 3 lines later, 4 lines later. I'm like, why is this thing bogging down? So yours is never going to do that, right? This bag is honestly, it's probably as good as any bag you're going to find. I bag almost every single time. I've never used the mulch function. I will say that, like most mowers, they're going to clog up before they fill up, and I mean that in the chute.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything better than this. I don't think it's phenomenal. I don't know how to think of it from a commercial perspective. I had a commercial Honda, and it is pretty much roughly the same thing.
I've had John Deere mowers, I've had Honda mowers, I've now had this mower, and if you don't empty the bag when it's about 50% full.
Yeah, if you don't do the kick trick.
Exactly.
That's what it is. What else? Anything else I should think about with this before we move forward? The handles are nice if you need to use them, but I don't ever use them. You have the same thing. I don't think you've ever used them.
Yep. No, I mean, there's I don't know what the current prices are on these things, but I think there's about a $400 to $500 price difference.
Yeah, so this is $1,100 on the website, and then if I go into a Home Depot, it's $899.
Oh, wow.
So there's a significant price difference, and the comedy is, when I got this one, I actually had to order it online and have it shipped to me, because for some reason, 2 seasons ago, Home Depot was like, we're not carrying anything in the stores anymore. And so you'll go to like your local Ace, and they'll be like, oh, $10.99 for one of these. Oh, you're like, that's not a bad deal. That's what it shows laying. You go to Home Depot, it won't be advertised. It's always $8.99 there. I mean, that's not making me want to buy a second one, but it's making me want to know that I got to go to Home Depot to get it with the battery. But maybe the one I got there is the reason why it's got a rusty deck. So I don't know, like.
Who knows?
Yeah. I think they're going to change some stuff. I think they're making an 18-inch model of this relatively soon. There's been some rumors of that, which might be nice. I've got a bigger lawn, would never use that. We all know Ego makes 18s as well, right?
They make several different ones. At the time, this was their top of the line. Their 10 amp hour battery was the biggest one they offered. I know there have been some design iterations on these too. I'm of the school, buy once, cry once, buy one size bigger than you think you need, and then quit shopping.
Well, no, you weren't. You bought one smaller, and then you traded in the next week.
Well, that's exactly right. Yeah, I bought the 7.5 amp hour battery. It didn't quite do the lawn in one mow, and they promised me it would, so we returned it for this one.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that was a funny thing. So I guess that's the review. Those are the things you have to look out for. Oh, you know what? Keep that thing rolling for a second. I have that spray stuff. I'll get it. I hope you're doing great pano shots of this. Yeah, this
is the dead air where you lose your audience on the
No, don't worry about it. So that's the stuff they had before. I don't really know anything about it. It seemed to work well in the Makita, which was also a steel deck. Also, as you can tell, my lawn doesn't have a bunch of sticks and stuff to be breaking the paint. Like, I can kind of get it. Like, I was going through rocks and sticks or whatever and breaking the paint and that tree. You know what I mean?
Instead of a beautifully manicured yard. Yeah.
I'm not saying there's not a few pine cones on my lawn, but for the most part, this just seems to be kind of a flaw in the deck, which it looks beautiful on top. And I maybe clean this thing. I don't know. I use a scrub brush probably every 3 times on it. Would you say?
At least.
and
yeah.
just run it through
I know
quickly.
I've never caught Mark washing his car, but I've caught him washing the lawnmower a
That's
lot of
fair.
times.
That's fair. I have pressure washed it once or twice. I think I did it in the middle of the season. So, but for the most part, it just sits like this. I just blow, use the blower on it as it's going in. And I left at the end of a mowing session yesterday for y'all to see it. So, yeah, that's what we got. I know it's the end of the season. We'll probably get exactly one view on this because no one's looking for a mower review right now.
If somebody's on the fence whether they want to get rid of their gas mower or not, that's kind of where we were. It was like,
would you do it again?
Yeah, I was so sick. So when I had an empty bed pickup, it's no big deal going and filling up a 5-gallon jug of gas in the bed. I don't really want to haul gas cans around in the back of a car that has upholstery. It's I'm not a prima donna, but I don't want to smell gas, fumes in the car. This is awesome. I haven't been to the gas station with a gas can in 3 years. Yeah. That's a big deal,
No, I agree. And the fun part about that for me is I think there's a lot of freedom with these. It sounds kind of crazy, but I've got 2 kids, so sometimes I get 30 minutes to go run at the lawn for a few minutes. And there's nothing all that hard about actually, starting a mower and running, but the filling it, the doing that, it's kind of like these weird barriers to entry. Like right now, if I want to go, we're done. We're moving. You
do that with a home light string trimmer.
Yeah, Godspeed and good luck with that.
I've been close to needing therapy trying to start my gas powered string trimmers in the past.
Yeah.
These battery ones just work every
They just work so. If you get to a battery ecosystem, especially now they're getting so much better, you can have the job done before the thing started. The only thing that I have that actually starts as fast as one of this is weirdly that backpack blower I have. 5 pumps, 1 click, pull, click and it just start going. And but that's just because I use it a lot, so it's always running. But it runs well. So I would say, if someone's on the fence of going to electric, if you have a 6,000 square foot lawn or less, I think it's a good hit. Maybe honestly, you could probably get away with 8,000, especially if you had the 8 amp hour pack on this, and then
or you could move up to an acre and then buy one of those 0-turn battery powered lawnmowers for about $5,000 and just have a great time.
Yeah, that's the way to go about it. So that's all I got. I think. Do you have anything else?
No, you're past the magic 22-minute mark, so you're going to start losing viewers.
I could care less about that. I just hope it helps someone. So at any rate, y'all have a good one. Thanks.
All right, see ya. Where's the